Hey everybody, it's Matty here with Altcoin Buzz. Happy Sunday to you. Hope you're having a very nice weekend. So we're taking a look at a few different stories today. Ethereum, which is making a bit of a comeback of sorts, at least a miniature one. We'll talk about that. We'll take a look at this perspective on the ICO market and the argument that no, it's not collapsing, it's maturing. We'll take a look at updates with our friends over at Internex, as well as, hey, if we're going to do news, we're going to have to talk about XRP. Of course, that's the drill by now because there's so much happening with XRP. We'll get Luke's quick take on that, but let's begin as always on altcoinbuzz.io with this article here by Alicia. Is Ethereum a good investment? So she basically structures this along the lines of what Tom Lee had to say. He's the head of research at Fundstrat. He's a big believer in Ethereum. And according to Bloomberg, he suggested that the market is about to see a, quote, trend reversal and rally strongly. So yes, Ethereum has been in the dumps recently. It went as low as about $170 or so US. That's been the recent low. But Tom Lee and the Fundstrat folks suggest that it's going to climb back to as much as $1,900 by the end of 2019, even though at the moment the market is dominated by overly negative sentiments. Indeed, Ethereum has received a lot of FUD lately, with some qualifying it as a bleep coin. So if you want to get into the technicals of why this prediction was made, so Lee basically appeals to Ethereum's past performance, pointing out that when the altcoin, quote, underperformed peers by 2 standard deviations, which it has now done, it tended to bounce back. So according to Lee's estimations, Ethereum would see a huge surge of 726%, as currently its market price at the time of Lisa's publication is $233. Now, whether or not you fully trust Mr. Thomas Lee, I'm not suggesting that he's out there to deceive anybody, but when you're predicting in this market, hey, nobody's right all of the time. In fact, very few people are right even some of the time. So we've seen some of these over-the-top predictions by people like Tom Lee, by people like John McAfee. You can take a look here at what Mr. Tom Lee has predicted in the past, and Licia sums up for us some of the negative comments by way of Vitalik Buterin that have at least partially contributed to Ethereum's nosedive. You'll remember he talked about how he never thought that we're ever going to see 1,000 times growth again in the crypto space, and that combined with some other things happening obviously precipitated the drop of Ethereum to its recent lows. But like we always talk about, guys, never financial advice, but you gotta buy assets when blood is running in the streets. You gotta buy low and sell high in order to make money. And I don't care whether that's crypto or anything else, but you gotta buy low, sell high. Brian Kelly of CNBC also feels that Ethereum is a better investment than Bitcoin. Let us know whether you agree with that sentiment, what you think the future is. Are we kind of over this golden age of Ethereum, or are things just getting started? Kind of depends on your outlook and where you think the market's going. If you want a further look at Brian Kelly's comments, Ethereum a better investment than Bitcoin, you can check this article from back in June, written up by Luke. Here's the original publication that Licia was referring to. Crypto bull Thomas Lee says Ethereum is poised for a big rally. Let's see. This is not unrelated. I just wanted to point this out quickly. Austria to use Ethereum public blockchain to issue $1.35 billion in government bonds. So this is an article by way of Cointelegraph. And if you haven't heard about this story, it could be significant, and it certainly, at least indirectly, supports Thomas Lee's argument that, hey, Ethereum has a future well ahead of it. Don't worry about Ethereum. It's going to be doing just fine. So Austria's government is set to use the Ethereum public blockchain to issue 1.15 billion euros of government bonds in an auction next week. The local news outlet Klein Zeitung reports on September 25th. So we're not going to go through this entire story. Just wanted to alert it to your attention very quickly. Of course, we've talked about government initiatives in other parts of the world. Canada especially seems to be embracing Ethereum. So my leaders out there in Parliament seem to be a little bit more open-minded when it comes to crypto, or at least to Ethereum. And to the extent that it can be involved in government activities, I think speaks well to its strength going forward. Although, let's see, nothing is certain in this world, certainly not in this market. You can take a look at this original publication that reported the news out of Austria, Klein Zeitung. We're going to link to that, of course, in the description below. Somewhat related, again, I'm pushing the boundaries here, but this is perhaps indirectly related to what we were just discussing with Ethereum. The ICO market is not collapsing, it's maturing. So it's an interesting visual piece here on Hacker Noon. And we're gonna hit play here. So this is an animated history of token sales from January of 2014 all the way to August of 2018, so just last month. And you'll see that there's very little activity for years and years and years. But once we get into April, May, June of 2017, of course, that's when we saw an explosion in the ICO space. And this piece, as well as this article, is suggesting that yes, there was a hysteria bubble. Yes, now as we're coming into 2018, we're seeing a lot of these projects that maybe didn't deliver, maybe didn't have the right professionalism on their teams, but despite the recent fall and despite the recent difficulties that we've had, all of a sudden there's a little bit of a resurgence here in the ICO space. So it's not quite the dud that some people have pointed out. The key takeaways of the point being made here, despite a rash of claims to the contrary, the ICO market remains quite robust with $1.5 billion raised in August. But more importantly, that's an increase of 44% over the prior month. So 44% above and beyond July of 2018. All signs point to a maturing ICO market. Fundraising grows more competitive, more established companies wade in, and security tokens show their first signs of life. For the first time, Singapore hosted more ICOs than the US. And maybe that's the sign of a maturing market. It's not necessarily a matter of quantity. We got to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff. So I think there were a lot of bandwagon ICOs that came out, people that had no business being in the ICO space that just used that vehicle as a medium toward enrichment, sometimes illegitimate enrichment. But as the market matures, as standards, continue to rise, people are not just in it for a quick buck. I think that's one of the growing pains that we had to unfortunately go through. And it's nice to see that the suggestion here is that, hey, despite some of the recent turbulence and volatility, things are still looking pretty good. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below about the ICO space. In a quick update here, our friends over at INXT, the beta is out now. Try the beta of xCloud and xCore at TechCrunch, at Forbes Crypto, at Civic Key. So the beta is out now. Try the beta of xCloud and xCore. We're going to link to that here for you. Of course, you can read all about the features of this new beta and participate in it if you so choose and if it interests you. Finally, today with a quick update by Luke, XRP will hit the $1 mark before the end of 2018. No, that's not a quote by Luke. We're attributing it to Nigel Green, who's the CEO of independent financial consultancy De Beer Group. He's very bullish on XRP. So Green published a blog post last Thursday stating that XRP, quote, will hit the $1 mark before the end of 2018. Furthermore, Green believes that it will be XRP who will continue to gather the most momentum in this period in the crypto market. Of course, there are different reasons for that. We've talked about XRapid. We've talked about some of the positive price action in recent days and recent weeks. So this strikes me as a more level-headed prediction. I wouldn't be entirely surprised if we see some good overall market movement over the course of the next couple of months. No, I wouldn't be entirely surprised at all if Ripple hit XRP, I should say, hit $1 by the end of this year. So specifically, Green said the following in the press release, quote, I believe that whilst the crypto market in general will be primarily bullish between now and the end of the year, it will be XRP that will continue to gather the most momentum in this period. Cryptocurrencies are the future of money, and clearly XRP is proving to be one of the most useful cryptocurrencies for businesses, organizations, and individuals. And then the price prediction that was specifically made was as follows, quote, the use of XRP will rise, which will have a positive impact on its price. I'm of the opinion that this cryptocurrency will hit the $1 mark before the end of 2018 and could even double in a year's time as the adoption and usage of XRP skyrockets. Look, guys, it could very well be. As we all know, XRP hit well above the $1 mark last year in the hysteria of December, January 2018. Now, I'm not saying we want to go down that road again and just have all kinds of, unwarranted, unjustified FOMO, but certainly the potential exists for higher price activity, higher price action with XRP. Let us know if you agree with Nigel Green, the CEO of the De Beer Group. I think it's entirely realistic. Let us know, of course, your thoughts in the comments below, especially if you disagree. But above all, make sure you're following Altcoin Buzz and Altcoin Buzz News. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Telegram. As you know, check out our last video here on the right, members of the Altcoin Buzz Army, as well as our website, altcoinbuzz.io. If you choose to invest, I wish you all the very best of luck. Happy investing. If not, that's cool too, but have a wonderful Sunday, a great tail end to your weekend. We'll see you guys soon again in a new video. Take care.